Hi, welcome. Thank you for joining me on today's Fertility Scope. My name is Heather Rodriguez, and today we're going to do Fertility Q and A. Okay, let me just get the camera and everything situated. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm a natural fertility specialist. I help couples who are trying to get pregnant and overcome fertility issues. We use herbs, supplements, lifestyle changes, dietary changes, natural therapies, all kinds of things to help couples who are trying to get pregnant, those who are preparing for medical fertility treatments, and those who want to just prepare for healthy pregnancy. So today's scope is going to be answering questions. Today's a Q&A. I got a ton of questions throughout the week, so I've gathered those here so I can help answer any questions you have about natural fertility. So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you have any questions, this is going to be a Q&A. You can go ahead and type them into the comments box. And while I'm waiting for those, I'm going to go ahead and start with a question that I got yesterday that I thought was a really great question that pertains to most people. So everybody will find this helpful. So the first was, what is the best way to increase progesterone? I talk a lot about progesterone in my fertility scopes and in our guides on naturalfertilityinfo.com. Progesterone is extremely important for fertility. Do you know about progesterone? Do you know what progesterone does? If you do, go ahead and, in the comments, just let me know. Yeah, I know all about progesterone, or I'm not quite sure. I've heard about it before. But progesterone, there's a lot of different sex hormones that are circulating through the body at any given time during your monthly cycle. And progesterone is one of those that fluctuates depending on the part of your cycle that you are on. So progesterone, if you break it down, it's progestation. So it helps to maintain, one of the things it does is it helps to maintain the lining of the uterus so the embryo has enough time to implant and begin growing. And it's what keeps you from shedding your lining through your pregnancy, because that's where your baby is living and developing and being nourished, is through your placenta. And progesterone is one of the main reasons that placenta does not begin to deteriorate. When you are not pregnant, at the end of your monthly cycle, your progesterone drops, and that's what causes your lining to begin to shed and starts your period. So progesterone does a lot of other things, but that's like one of the main functions of progesterone that is important to know for fertility. So the question was, what is the best way to increase progesterone? There's a couple of different ways to do that. There's a couple different steps. The first is, how do you know that you have low progesterone? So you can ask yourself that. Did you get testing? What kind of testing did you get done? Are there different signs that you think you have low progesterone? So you want to make sure that it's not just something that you're like, oh, okay, I have low progesterone because I'm spotting, or I have low progesterone because I think I'm not getting pregnant, so that must be it. So it's good to find out. A couple ways you can find out is by body temperature, by doing your body temperature, like basal thermometer, fertility charting. Super helpful for many different reasons, but a consistently low temperature might be a sign of low progesterone, and then you can go and get testing and find out. So some of the things that we would do in the natural fertility world is, since we don't treat disease, we don't treat things directly as medications do, we support the systems of the body. So when someone comes to me and they say, I have low progesterone, okay, let's support the system of the body that's responsible for producing your progesterone. Let's get that system back on track so you are producing what you need to be producing. So you're producing that progesterone instead of forcing progesterone onto the body. So that's one of the reasons I love natural health and natural therapies, is because we're supporting the body so the body can function optimally. We're not forcing the body to do something. On that note, I totally understand there's a place for fertility medications. I'm not against them. It's just not everyone's going to need them, especially not step one. But there's totally a place for them, definitely. Okay, so one of the things you can do to increase progesterone is Vitex. Since we're looking at helping to support the system and so that it can create its own progesterone, Vitex is amazing at supporting the pituitary gland and helping to support the endocrine system. So what's going to happen when the pituitary gland gets supported is that's like the messenger. That's like the head boss that's telling hormone, go here, hormone, secrete, do this. It's the head of the orchestra. It's the conductor of all the hormones. So with Vitex, we're supporting that so that the pituitary gland is able to function at its best and then tell the body what hormones it needs to be producing or which ones it's low at, helps to kind of wake it up. So there's been a ton of studies done on Vitex for this use. It's fantastic for this. So that's kind of the first place that, that I go to is using Vitex. And it does take some time to work, so that's something to think about. So you're going to need to use it for a couple of months to get a change, a large change from it. But it's amazing, and there's so many other benefits to it. The second thing for increasing progesterone is diet changes. Make sure you're getting enough essential fatty acids and healthy fats so you're able to produce hormones. You're going to want to reduce your estrogen and your exposure to xenoestrogens, which are compounds in the environment that mimic estrogen and tell your body that it is producing more and more estrogen. So it acts like estrogen in the receptor sites, and you're getting an estrogen predominant situation. So if you have high estrogen, you're going to have lower progesterone because they need to be in a specific ratio during certain times of the month. Certain times of the month, progesterone needs to be higher. And if you've got too much estrogen, that's not going to happen. So we're not getting the benefits of progesterone. And then the last thing that I would do is once you're doing those things, if it's not shifted, and if you have experienced previous miscarriages, recurrent miscarriages, looking into progesterone cream, a natural transdermal progesterone cream. Okay, so that's the first question. Can someone do me a favor and type in something into the comments? Because I had this problem yesterday where the comments weren't working and people were trying to chat. And I'm not sure why that's happening. So if someone can type something into the comments, that would be so great. So I can make sure that it's working. Since this is your Q&A, I want to make sure that you can get your questions answered. Okay, so the next question. Okay, yeah, I don't think the chat comments are working. So sorry about that, guys. I'm not sure what's happening with Periscope. Hope it's not something I did. All right, so the next question is going to be what herbs are useful for lengthening a short cycle? This is one of the most common things that we run into with women who are having fertility issues. Their cycle is not long enough to sustain a pregnancy. So when you're looking at the monthly cycle, there's two main phases. There's a lot of different phases, but we'll just focus on the main two. There's from your period to ovulation, that's phase 1, and there's from ovulation until either your menstruation or you're pregnant. So there's the luteal phase. And luteal phase defect is when that second portion from ovulation to either your period or your pregnancy is too short. If that's too short, when you have a fertilized egg, there's it needs at least 12 days to implant and burrow into the uterine lining. So if that's too short, then that's not happening no matter how many times you're getting pregnant and having that egg be fertilized every single month. So if that's not too long enough, then that's a big problem, and that's called luteal phase defect. And that's one of the most common fertility issues that we run into, and it's actually one of the easiest to fix. So what herbs are useful for lengthening the short cycle? Again, we're going to go back to Vitex. Vitex is incredible for this. It helps to increase the progesterone if that's what's needed during that part of the cycle. It's helping the pituitary gland to communicate with the uterus and the ovaries, mostly the ovaries, to let it know what hormones and what part of the cycle it's in. So Vitex is going to be awesome. I would also use something like maca to help support the endocrine system. And then also make sure you're eating a healthy fertility diet. Nutritional deficiencies can cause this as well, being low in iron, as well as some other things. Make sure you're eating a healthy fertility diet. That needs to be the basis and the foundation for everything that you're doing. And I'm sorry, guys, the comments aren't working. This is a Fertility Q and A, and I am here to answer your questions, but the comments aren't working today. So I'm just going to go ahead with the questions I got earlier this week. And please, if you have questions for me, you can either tweet me at Hethir, Hethir, on Twitter, or you can go to our website at naturalfertilityinfo.com and click on Contact Us, and you can send your question there. So the other question I got was, what herbs are useful to increase cervical mucus? And I thought this was such a great question. This is a topic that we have been talking about at the company, that my staff and I have been talking about, because I don't think people understand how important cervical mucus is. This is going to be kind of like the too much information segment of the video. So just so you guys know what's about to happen. Cervical mucus is so important for getting pregnant. So it's the fluid that is found in your vagina, and it changes throughout the month depending on your fertility state. When you're ovulating, it's like a white, creamy egg white, like the part of the egg that's the clear hanging parts. It's like a mucus. And the thing about it, though, is it's super important for helping the sperm to get to the egg. It protects the sperm. It kicks out sperm that's not good and healthy. And it also helps the sperm to transport all the way to the egg. And it's actually an extremely long journey when you're the size of a sperm. A very, very long journey. So cervical mucus is really important. And so ways that you can increase cervical mucus using herbs, that was specifically the question. The first thing I want to say, though, is you got to stay hydrated. You have to drink a lot of water. Cervical mucus is 80% water. Some of the herbs that you can use are going to be called demulcents. So demulcents are herbs that stimulate mucous membrane secretions. It stimulates fluids within the body. Dandelion leaf is a fantastic one. That's going to stimulate mucous membrane secretion. It's also going to help support the liver, which is needed for hormonal balance. Licorice root is another wonderful demulcent that increases mucous membrane secretion. Also helps to support hormonal balance. Isn't this interesting how there's the connection between the two? Red clover is a fantastic herb for increasing circulation to the reproductive system and a wonderful tonic for dryness, so dry vagina. And then ginger root is another herb that's going to increase circulation to the reproductive system. So that's going to help with increasing fluids and helping with dryness. It also is an aphrodisiac. So that's worth a try, right? I've just thought for a second. This morning I'm drinking a dirty chai, which is, it's actually decaf, but it's decaf coffee with chai. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll take a little sip there. And then the last root that's going to be great for increasing cervical mucus is going to be sarsaparilla root. And this one is great for promoting hormonal levels, progesterone, testosterone, and helps with regular menstruation. So these are herbs that you can use specifically for cervical mucus. How cool is that? But we just wrote an article like 2 weeks ago with a recipe on how to make what Liz, one of our herbalists, one of our educators at Natural Fertility Company, she calls it, let me get the exact name right. She calls it Fertility Brew, which I thought was really cool because it kind of tastes like root beer. So you can get the recipe on naturalfertilityinfo.com, the exact ratios and everything to make this tea. This is a do-it-yourself, very easy. And the title of the article is Promote Healthy Cervical Mucus Production with this Luscious Herbal Infusion. So you can go ahead and get the recipe there for it to make your own fertility brew. So I have one more question, and if you guys have any questions, try to type them into the comments. Maybe come in and out of the broadcast. I'm not quite sure why the comments aren't working today, so apologize. I think I'll jump on again later to see if we can get those to work so you can get your questions answered, because I want to connect with you. That's why I come on here. I'm trying every single day of the week, but I come on here at least 3-4 days a week to help answer questions and support you guys on your fertility journey. I love teaching. I love getting your emails that say, Heather, my cycle totally changed after I tried A, B, and C, or I have so much energy after changing to the fertility diet, or I did the fertility cleanse. I followed the OvaWise egg health program. I'm pregnant. So I want to hear from all of you where you are in your journey and how's it going. So last question. This one I thought was really interesting. It was, her question was, what do you think of the high-carb, low-fat, raw till 4 veganism? I have PCOS, and we're trying for more children because we don't foresee it happening. But I have a myriad of other health issues, and raw till 4 is the only help that I've found for those after years and years of searching. So that's a really interesting question. High-carb, low-fat, raw till 4 is, from my limited understanding, is a lot of fruit and a lot of carbohydrate diet. So it's a raw, basically a raw fruit diet. I don't know a whole lot about that diet. I've never done it. I have read a little bit about it. So I might not be the best person to ask, because I'm going to say that there's a lot of other things that are important for PCOS, like keeping your blood sugar levels balanced. So I would be concerned eating a diet so high in sugar could cause issues with insulin resistance, could cause issues with blood sugar balance. So that's something probably to ask about from someone who specializes in that type of diet. The type of diet I would suggest for PCOS would be much different. It would be consistently balanced in carbohydrate and protein every single meal. It would be low fruit, it would be low sugar. Fats would be definitely included. Whole grains are included, but in lower amounts. So a very different diet than the one that is suggested in high carb, low fat Total 4. But if that's working for you, every person is different. If you're working with someone and that's working for you, then that's what's right for you. What I've seen work best for our PCOS ladies is going to be grams equal in ratio to one another. So if it's protein, 24 grams of protein, 24 grams of carbohydrates in that meal. You also would eat smaller meals throughout the day. So you'd eat 5 or 6 meals. So they'd be a little bit smaller to keep your blood sugar levels balanced. Is coconut oil a good natural lubricant? Does it harm sperm and motility when trying to conceive? Awesome question, Tiffany. Coconut oil, when you are not trying to conceive, is a great lubricant. When you are trying to conceive, it is not a suggested lubricant by any means. So the thing with coconut oil is that, so what the environment that the sperm needs to survive needs to be a watery, slick, moving environment. Coconut oil will cause the sperm to not be able to move. It's like trying to swim through butter, basically. So I would not suggest coconut oil if you are experiencing fertility issues or low sperm count. I would suggest something more like Emerita makes a really good one that's water-based, or using herbs to increase your cervical mucus. If you can please copy and paste that question you just put, I just missed it. You can use herbs to increase your cervical mucus, like we had discussed in the last video. Watch the replay. That would be much better than using coconut oil. I would not suggest coconut oil. Other times of the day, if you need it because you're dry, you can use coconut oil, but not specifically for sex while trying to conceive. Okay, what was that last question? They fade so quickly, it's hard for me to read them and answer at the same time. I'm going through IVF now. You're welcome, Tiffany. I'm going through IVF now. I have endo, low ovarian reserve. Any tips to share for after transfer? Okay, Nico, copy and paste that one in just a minute. So after transfer tips, you know, you're definitely, okay, so after transfer, it's, you know, everything that I would do would be prior to transfer. All the things that I know are going to make a big impact would be needing to be done for at least 3 months before you go through the whole process. But after transfer, what I would suggest, like for the 2-week wait, and this is not going to be necessarily natural fertility tip, but I would suggest going on a trip or something to get your mind off of things, or having things set up in such a way that you're able to rest. Watch comedies. There's studies showing that laughing and comedies help with implantation after transfer. Some women end up being very, very sore. So make sure that you are taking some time off. Some people say pineapple works, the enzymes, you know, with pineapple or papaya. It might not be, you know, it might not hurt. I would definitely continue taking your essential fatty acids and your multivitamin, but most of the things that are going to make a big impact are done ahead of time. Acupuncture is something else to consider post-transfer. Okay, post your other questions. I keep on missing them. I need to get my assistant to join me on these scopes so I can catch all the questions. But I hope that helps with post-transfer. Watch comedy. There is scientific studies showing that it helps with implantation. DHEA good for egg quality. You know, I don't work with DHEA a lot because DHEA is when you look at a chart of hormone production, DHEA is up here and it can turn into so many different hormones. It can turn into testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, so many different hormones that I don't really like to use it with most of my clients because I work with you through the internet and through self-empowerment and education. If I was working with you one-on-one, we could do blood testing, different things like that. Then I possibly would use DHEA, but I actually don't suggest it for the audience that we reach because we're herbalists and nutritionists. We don't do blood testing. We aren't able to monitor, and it can turn into so many different hormones. But what I do suggest for egg quality is we're going to focus on antioxidants, focus on CoQ10, specifically ubiquinol form. Amazing for egg quality, and diet is going to make a huge difference as well as increasing circulation to your reproductive system. So those are some of the things I would focus on for egg health specifically. DHEA, not so much something I would do. Recommendations for hypothyroidism. It's so common now, right, Nico? My goodness. I even have hypothyroidism. It's so many people have it. Some recommendations. Well, one is don't be scared of your medication. That's one of the main things. So many people are like, okay, I need to get off my medication. When you're trying to conceive, this may not be the best time, or you're taking a glandular. So this wouldn't be the best time to necessarily try to move away from what it is you're currently doing. One thing about hypothyroidism and infertility is most of the numbers, so when you get your TSH levels tested, there's a certain number that's on the test for normal range. And some of them still say 4, or they still say a higher range than what has been adjusted to recently. So when you're trying to get pregnant, the range is actually, it needs to be under 2. Whereas some tests will say 4 is a normal range. So one tip is to know your levels and to ask your doctor about them and work with your doctor who knows the new levels, especially for infertility. Your TSH needs to be under 2, and some of your other markers need to have specific numbers as well. So that's really important because hypothyroidism is one of the most under-tested reasons for infertility. If you've been trying to get pregnant for years and everything else is fine, like you've been getting testing done, have you had your thyroid tested? That can cause, having unchecked thyroid levels can cause recurrent miscarriages even before you're able to detect pregnancy. So that's something to think about. Menopause helped grow follicles and ovulation, didn't fertilize though. Yeah, unfortunately that happens. That's part of why the statistics with IVF and everything and IUIs are so low, unfortunately. Another thing about hypothyroidism, real quickly, is to make sure that you're eating, and depending on the type of hypothyroidism you have, find out, do you have the immune-based hypothyroidism or the non-immune? They're totally different, even though they're called the same thing. Something to know and figure out about yourself. OPK one Tuesday and negative OPK on Wednesday. Does that mean I ovulated? It might mean you ovulated on Tuesday. So her question was, she had a positive OPK on Tuesday and then a negative OPK on Wednesday. So with OPKs, if you get a positive, the line has to be just as dark. Both lines have to be equally as dark. You can't have like a light line. Then that's not an actual positive on an ovulation predictor kit, OPK. So it's hard to say, but you most likely ovulated, I think it's 12 hours after you take that test and it's a positive, you'll ovulate. So there's a good chance that you did. They're hard to read. That's the reason I like doing fertility tracking with basal body thermometers, is because it's more accurate, but you have to do it at the same time every day. So it matters what kind of lifestyle you have. Doing both is even better. But yeah, if you had a positive OPK and it was negative the next day, there's a certain hormone that's secreted right before ovulation that it is detecting. So it would the next day be negative. It's not like a pregnancy test. A pregnancy test has to continuously stay positive. Totally different, even though they look the same. All right, hope that helped. Any other questions, guys? These are such great questions. I'm so glad to connect with you. And you have a basal body thermometer. I know it's not as easy, right? But it's worth it. You learn so much. You'll see exactly when you ovulate. You'll see if you're ovulating. You can also tell through doing your temperature if you might have a thyroid issue, if you have low progesterone, how long your luteal phase is. You find out so many things that could give you insight into what's going on with your fertility. You can tell a lot of different imbalances and fertility issues by charting. So I would definitely suggest it. Can I get pregnant while taking Coumadin? I don't know much about Coumadin. I know that's for blood thinning, helping to thin the blood. You're going to start using it. Great. Start using it. Let me know how it goes for you. I love that you joined me on all my scopes, Tiffany. I want to continuously know how you're doing, so update me. So back to Coumadin. I don't know much about it, so I'm going to preface it with that. But because it acts on the blood and it's thinning the blood, I don't see why you would have a problem getting pregnant while using it. Definitely talk to your doctor. If anything, I wonder if it would help just because of the circulation factor, because of the blood thinning factor. That would be more of a pro than a con. But I don't know. I don't know about that. Ask your doctor. All right. Guys want some dirty chai? You're welcome. I hope that was helpful. I'm currently taking it, and you shouldn't take it once pregnant confirmed. Cool. Thanks for the feedback, Tiffany. Yeah, so you'd probably need your blood to be monitored, I would assume, once you're pregnant. Because your blood volume goes up 50% while you're pregnant. It's a crazy experience. Yeah. Yeah, you start producing so much blood so quickly. All right, do you guys have any other fertility questions? You'll need to switch to Levonix once pregnancy is confirmed. Okay. Yeah, so ask your doctor about those things. Write those down. It's great feedback, Tiffany. Great. So are there any topics that you guys want me to cover this next week? And for my desktop viewers, I'm sorry, I don't think you can type in comments yet on Periscope, because I know I get a ton of desktop viewers. You guys are probably at work right now. All right, so I'll just wait another minute here. If you have any other questions while you've got me, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. You can go ahead and type them into the box, the comments below, and also your wish list or your wish for future Periscopes. What's important to you right now? What is it that you really would like to know about in natural fertility, infertility, anything to do with that? I'm going to be working on a lot of stuff for PCOS coming up, Tiffany. I know you had requested that before. I'm putting some stuff together because PCOS is such a big topic. And they're actually looking at renaming it, which I thought was really interesting because the list of what PCOS is so long that I think it's so many different things, and there's so many versions of it. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I thought I was the only woman on Coumadin trying to get pregnant. I know, right? I wonder, I think there's a lot of people on Coumadin, so I don't think you're alone. Oh, you're welcome. Great. Thank you guys so much for joining me. You have a fantastic day. All right. Have a great one. You're definitely, that's great. Yeah. All right. Bye.